shy person and an introvert. But trust me, Olam changed me. From the quietest person in the room, I became the most notorious. Once I start talking to a customer, I never shut up. As soon as I get without having an agenda in mind. And that agenda, you might think in the beginning that, okay, she's here, she's just, just wrapping the customers as they used to call it there. But at the end of the day, I know I'll achieve my goal. So anyway, just getting back to Olam, please, how do I do this? What's the laptop? Sorry, he's the one that can operate this. The orange. Sorry, he's the operator. So the history of Olam, like the chairman rightly said, Olam started in Nigeria in 1989. And it's I don't know whether to say it's a shame or it's something we should be very proud of. But personally, I feel disappointed. Disappointed that a foreign company or a group of foreigners can come into our country and they could move from starting with just one location to moving into over 60 countries. In fact, Olam was actually in 70 countries. It's only recently that they, kind of downsized the game to 60 countries. And how did Olam start? Olam started from the Kelwaram Chanrai group. I don't know if you've seen Kelwaram Chanrai along the road. They sell automobiles. Yeah. And back then, in 1989, I think there was depreciation of the Naira. They had brought in automobiles. Obviously, they would buy it in USD, sell it in Naira, change the money back to USD, and send back to India. But because of the depreciation of the Naira at that time, they felt they were going to make a lot of losses, which is where the exchange rate comes in, which is what we call currency risk. You can import something 100 USD, today it's at 500 Naira. By the time you sell it at, let's say, 550, the USD rate has changed to 650. You've actually made losses. So they felt like, how could they mitigate that loss? And then they thought, what is it that is needed back home in our country that this country can actually provide? And they felt cashew. Indians consume a lot of cashew. India is also one of the largest processors of cashew in the world. And they felt they could get cashew here in Nigeria. So after selling the cars, instead of converting back to USD and sending that money back to India at lower levels, they decided to take the Naira that they had used in selling those cars to buy cashew instead. Buying the cashew, it's Naira to Naira. You are going to places like Ondo to, I don't know where the cashew growing regions in Nigeria are. The Naira you have taken for the cars, you use it to buy the cashew, and you export the cashew. Cashew has a global peg price, so they are not making any losses. And that was how Olam started, by accident, just to solve the currency risk problem. And today, Olam is one of the biggest agri-supply chain commodity companies in the world. It is actually either number 2 or number 3, behind the likes of Louis Dreyfus and Co. But Olam is poised to be number 1 very soon. So Olam started from being just a singular country entity to over 60. We started with cashew. Olam actually was trading across 6 platforms, 14 different products, and what have you. Recently, as early as January 2020, they have streamlined the game. So you have the Olam International body, which has the functionary obligation to oversee what all the divisions do. But then they have streamlined the company into 2, which is where you have the Olam Global Agri sector, and then you have the Olam Food Industries. So they've segregated it such that for the foods, you're talking of packaged foods, you're talking of spices, you're talking of dairy and things like that. And for OGA, you're talking of the commodities themselves, like rice, sugar, grains, animal food, and what have you. Like I said, it started from one company, Kelwaram Chanrai, and now Olam is on the Singapore Global Stock Exchange since as far back as 2005. In Singapore, Olam should be possibly number 2, number 3, but globally, Olam is recognized. Like if you go to, if you were an employee of Olam, I mean, we had special access. And one of the fact sheets that I loved the most was, for what I do, as an individual within the company. It might not be seen, but the impact globally, I want to know. So Olam will tell you that for every 5 hamburgers that you see, let's say at a McDonald's, one of those burgers with the sesame seeds on it is provided by Olam. For every 10 cups of coffee drank in the world, 2 cups of coffee were provided by Olam. For every onion you find in a burger, or for every onion ring box that you have, maybe for every 10, 2 is provided by Olam. For every chocolate, or for every 10 bars of chocolate, 5 would have been sourced by Olam. That way, it makes you understand the impact of what each and every one contributed to the company. And for me, I think that is the most phenomenal thing ever. Olam started, obviously, the employee base roughly just about 50, and now you have over 87,600 and still counting. Obviously, in terms of processing of value addition, Olam never believed in buying assets here or in any country where they were. Olam always wanted to be as liquid as possible. But that has also changed, because if you are dealing only at the trade level, your margins will always be low, because you always be dealing on the basis of volumes. And your prices are always going to be streamlined by global practices. But when you come to value addition or manufacturing or processing, that is where you can begin to command your margins, and at a larger pace. Obviously, with regards to innovation, it was simply trade before. But now Olam has 14 innovation centers across the world. When it comes to coffee, Olam has an innovation center specific for coffee, meaning for the coffee beans procured, they have to tweak it in such a way that they are able to meet the right target market that can pay a premium for that coffee. The coffee you drink today, the Nescafe and what have you, that is actually not coffee. If you want real coffee, you will know that you are drinking real coffee. And then when it comes to revenue, obviously from starting with just cashew, Olam is obviously well worth over 32.9 billion Singaporean dollars in terms of sales turnover alone. And that is still at a growing level. That is very important to Olam is this. In part of the strategy for Olam, the goal for Olam is this. There is no business Olam will ever get into. If Olam is going to be number 3, Olam will exit. Olam has to be either number 1 or number 2. So we might be in a business, we might be making good money, but if Olam is not number 1 or number 2, trust me, Olam is going to exit that business. They will tell you there is no value in being number 3 or number 4. So because market share is important. Yes, you can say profit is more important than market share, but there's something market share does for you. So it's a function of, okay, which do you give up for? But Olam will tell you, if I'm not number 1, if I'm not number 2, I'm exiting. And Olam has actually taken those steps in recent times. Just last year when I was leaving, Olam exited the timber business, Olam exited the rubber business globally, and they exited the sugar business as well. Because if you have competition that are much stronger than you, then in terms of economies of scale, they will be able to get better prices than you. They will be able to command things that you are not able to command. So what's the point in struggling and being a small fish in a big pond or whatever it is? So some of those things are what Olam would always look at to say, am I going to remain in this particular business or not? So some of us might look at it and like, so long as it's making me money. But Olam doesn't work that way. If Olam is not number 1, number 2, number 3 is not an option. So I think it's also a way of driving the people at the helm of affairs to say you have to be number 1 or just manage number 2. But even that number 2 will be driven to the point where you have no choice but to be number 1 again. So for the aspirations of Olam, and trust me, this man, they look at him as a god in Olam. So this is the founder, obviously Mr. Sonny Verghese. I think I have told the chairman several times, he's a very short man. I think Mr. Sonny is just my height. When he comes into a room, you only recognize him by the smell of the perfume he wears. He doesn't talk loud, but everyone keeps quiet. And that is the power that he carries. For a man to start this business, and it's a global business, he's listed on the Singapore richest people's list. I think the top 400, he's there, and he's always been there, and I don't think he will ever move. Now, what is key to Olam, which is what I liked that the facilitator before me had mentioned, when she asked, what is the vision or mission for Origin Group? And it took a while, and I think only one person was able to give that answer. In Olam, nobody will force you to know what the mission of the company is or the vision, because it is so ingrained in the back of your mind that up to the setting of targets, up to your weekly sales, your daily sales, this is at the core of it. If I know that, for instance, my governing objective is to maximize long-term shareholder value, and the reason why they even changed it to maximize long-term for continuing shareholders, Olam had gone through a lot of issues in the past, and we realized that some shareholders come in just for, let's say, arbitrage purposes, or they just come in to just shake the market and they exit. A lot of things changed over the course of the 8 years that I spent in Olam, and this became the solid aspirations that we had. The purpose of Olam is to reimagine. So we have this group of people, we call them the reimagineers. So the way you have engineers, we have this group of people, reimagineers. Their job is this, and it's in every location across the world. Their job is, this is how the business functions. We need this business to be streamlined, we need it to be better, we need it to be more efficient, and we need innovation. Begin to look for solutions, and people are incentivized for it. So reimagining global agriculture is at the very core of what Olam is doing now. In terms of the vision, obviously to be the most differentiated global food business, I think that is already happening. And then the governing objective, like I said, to maximize long-term intrinsic value for our continuing shareholders. At the root of everything we do, we need to make money, and that is the core of this. And what he says, our teams are focused on overcoming the complexities facing our customers and their global supply chains. And we know this can only be achieved over the long term by creating value for all stakeholders, aiming to put more back into food and farming systems than is taken out. So a lot of these things, they sound very nice, but at the heart of it, we want to make money. And trust me, this money can be very nice to everybody here, but it will hold some people accountable that if you don't make that money, you are dead. So, like I said also, for Olam, it's a thing of culture. And culture meaning the values we share as a people. And in terms of these values that we share, we're actually rewarded for it globally, on a global scale. So the shared values for Olam are 6. The first is mutual respect and teamwork. So even as a line manager, maybe two levels above me, 3 levels above me, you can't talk to me in a derogatory manner. It has to be as colleagues. And that is actually frowned upon if there's an infraction. So respect, mutual respect is important regardless of your level in the organization. Even up to the cleaner in the organization should be accorded the respect. You will not be able to work in your environment in a very nice manner if your office was dirty. If your office is kept clean, it means that that cleaner has also impacted or added value in some way to give you a sane environment for you to function properly, for you to earn the money. So even the cleaner in your office, the driver, the gate man, whosoever it is, they must be accorded with respect. The same respect you deserve or you are asking for is what you should give them in return. Same thing with your stakeholders, both internal and external. So you are dealing with someone outside that you think is below your level. It doesn't matter. I, as an MBA holder, I would go into the market in Olam, and I'll be dealing with staff illiterates who will be insulting me, insulting my company, saying all sorts of things. At the end of the day, I bow to them and say, thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir. We are so sorry. We'll handle your issue for you. We'll do whatever it takes. But at the end of the day, I still end up getting what I want. But the respect must be accorded regardless. Another value that we held there, and I personally held there, was entrepreneurship. Some people might wonder, how do you have entrepreneurship within a corporation or within an organization that is not my own? Olam did it in a very fantastic way. And I think the reason is possibly the competitive levels we have for a lot of staff coming from India. Obviously, with their large population, they are naturally competitive. But I think personally, If you know that you are coming into this space to achieve something great, you would want to be an entrepreneur within Olam. And Olam would give you the leeway to handle your business, to handle your market in the best way you see fit, so long as you have shown credibility in the past, so long as you are able to deliver, so long as you are honest about what you're doing, your dealings and all of that, and so long as you are delivering on the results. Entrepreneurship, for me, I feel, is actually one of the bedrock pillars for the success of Olam. And obviously you have integrity, you have partnerships, ownership, which is similar to entrepreneurship, very key, and then stretch and ambition. Now, in setting our target, in setting the budget for the year, this is actually the key thing that a lot of us used to look at. If you set a target, if you set the budget for the year, the first thing you hear is, where is the stretch in this budget? Where is the ambition in this budget? And then you see people beginning to grapple or trying to see what they could do to maybe get the numbers to be higher. But then people push themselves out of their comfort zones to ensure that they are able to achieve it. So this comes back to the budget. What is it about setting a budget? I actually had something under here that I wanted them to see. And the guy said, hey, back off, you're a dream killer. So what it means is this. Yes, it's nice to have goals, it's nice to have the passion, but it must be measurable, which is what budget is all about. Putting numbers to your goals, putting numbers to your targets. Then we come to the strategic priorities. Like I mentioned, Olam will never be number 3. Olam would always exit any business that he feels like he can never be number 1 or number 2. Which is why in setting the budget for the year, we look at 4 priorities. Number 1, I must strengthen, streamline, and focus on the portfolio. I will never go outside of my portfolio. Now, there might be opportunities that I have seen the year before, but it must still be at the core of what Olam does. That means in terms of economies of scale, if let's say my focus is rice, and then I see that there's an opportunity for maize, I should be able to deploy the same team doing rice. I should be able to deploy the same distribution network. I should be able to deploy the same logistics network to the maize. If I cannot deploy the same resources I'm using here for the maize, then I will not bother doing it, because then it is additional cost, it's bringing new complexities to me, and there's no point in going there. Then to improve margins, like I said, at the heart of Olam is we need to make money. We need to make our shareholders happy. And therefore, I must improve on my costs, I must be competitive, and I must be able to draw value. The third is to explore investments, obviously, in new engines of growth. So, like I said, if I see an opportunity in maize, so long as I can deploy the economies of scale from rice to maize, I will definitely take up that investment. Now, I could find another investment that could yield higher returns, but if it is outside of my core, I will not go into it. And then to offer a difference in products or services. At the heart of what each and every one of you is doing here, you are either selling a product or you are selling a service. If, let's say, you are in finance here, and your finance is maybe to your divisions or to your, what do you call it now? To your SBUs, they are still your internal customers. You are still offering them a product, you are still offering them a service. So how are you going to do it in a differential manner, such that they draw more value from what you're doing, and then it makes their system or their business more efficient and more productive. So for the planning considerations for the budget, obviously, so I'm going to talk from a sales perspective or from an import perspective. Obviously, you need to do your forecast, national forecast, international forecast, look at your historical sales data, or your imports data, what have you, look at the potential factors that could affect, you look at your methodology around, at least you must have a basis, or a basis for setting your data, or setting your numbers. So if the basis is, let's say you're projecting a 5% year-on-year increase, you should be able to project that and give validation as to why you use that basis for the projections. And then obviously your methodology, your evaluation to see whether it holds water. You have to do a fairness evaluation as well. your factors and what have you, your preliminary quota set, and then you refine your quota. So the reason why I'm not going too much into this is, I don't want this to be very theoretical, because trust me, I know a lot of you are bored. It has to be the practical aspect of it. And then what will be the factors influencing? So here, it's not necessarily about sales. It could even be procurement. It could just be that you may have to swap sales and always put procurement there, regardless of what it is. And like I said, since you have, let's say, finance, you have, I don't know what other support group you have, HR and what have you. At the end of the day, the other businesses, whether it be the furniture, be it the automobile, you are selling something. You are either procuring the raw materials to use to manufacture into the finished product. So for the side of the sale, you are doing procurement and you are doing sales. So these are some of the things that you are going to look at. I don't want to start going into each detail because I want to now practicalize how we used to use these things back in Olam. So this is, for me, the foundation, and I think this is even the last slide. I would want to show some Excel sheets that I used to run, very comprehensive, very technical, and very training. But just to show you how data-driven Olam is, to the extent that if you don't have your data right, then every other thing falls flat on its face. Now, the 4 key risks that Olam would always look at in setting the target, setting the numbers, looking at the budget: counterparty risk, currency risk, credit risk, and operational risk. So counterparty risk means if maybe I am procuring. So Bolaji, let's say you are getting some of your furniture components from China, right? Now, whosoever it is that you are buying from, obviously you make a prepayment. I don't know what you do in terms of what you, or if maybe you are selling to them on credit or you are buying, whatever it is, there's always a counterparty risk. So that person that you are procuring from in China, is that person liquid? Is it that maybe you've made a prepayment, maybe 50% beforehand, to say, get me this quantity, after you deliver, I'll pay you the balance 50%. There is a possibility that even after paying them the 50%, they may not give you the items, meaning you may lose your money. So that counterparty risk assessment needs to be done, meaning you need to do the background check for those that you are procuring from or those that are supplying to you to ensure that everything is fine. Currency risk, at the end of the day, would wipe out your entire business if care is not taken. So if also you are buying from China, you are not monitoring the trends around currency. So what Olam does every day, we look at the checkers. What is the rate today? So the baseline for Olam is USD, obviously. We need to know what the dollar rate is today, such that if I'm procuring items or I'm importing some items, even if the items have not landed, but I have borrowed money from the bank beforehand, the local bank, there's a way I can borrow money from Olam International at a cheaper rate to quickly fund and pay the local bank, such that in a way the interest rate I'll pay at the local bank versus the interest rate I'll pay at Olam, it negates it and I keep some money to myself. Or better yet, if I borrow from Olam International, which we will normally call prepayment, and I see that the dollar rate is now better for me locally, I'll quickly borrow money from the local bank because the rate locally is good, quickly convert it to USD, send it back to Olam International, and at the end of the day, I'm also good. So trust me, the currency aspect of it can be very confusing, and if you're not a finance expert, you will never get it right. But at the end of the day, this has actually wiped out some businesses in Olam. This has actually made some businesses in Olam. So Nigeria, for instance, with the ban on importation of rice, Nigeria actually made a lot of money for Olam. With the ban on importation of flour, even without trading, without doing much, Olam made so much money on currency alone. So this has the make or break factor for any business that deals with international trade. Currency risk is the bedrock of your business. Credit risk, obviously, if you are dealing with people that you are selling to on credit, you need to be able to do checks on them. So back when I was in Olam, I was like the credit risk assessor. So managing the entire operations for rice, for Olam, from north to south. At the end of the day, I had my team everyone goes out and tells me, oh, this customer is so good, this customer is that good, blah, blah, blah. They tell me, and then we had a set of criteria around which the customer must fit into for us to say, okay, let's bring this customer on board. But the final check laid with me, if I cannot verify that this customer is not owning another company that is maybe a competitor to me, or if this customer doesn't have this number of staff, this customer doesn't have this number of spread in the market, then there's something fishy there. And then I need to start asking the banks, especially those that I know, because we meet each other in the market. I can see someone from StanChart who I've seen at the customer's place before, and I just call the brother and say, Charlie, how far? Is that man owing you? Sorry I use the word Charlie, but that's how it is in Ghana. You know, and I ask, is this so and so person, is Charles Prempe owing you some money? He can tell me that, yes, the guy has been owing me for 2 years now or something. That already raises a red flag for me. If I find out from another competitor as well, how long has this man been owing you money for? And he says, oh, the guy hasn't paid me in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, then I know something is wrong. So that is also actually very key. Then operational risk obviously is internal. Operational risk meaning I will not take cash, and I will not allow my staff to take cash. I will not allow a customer to pay cash to any person coming to represent the company, and so many other factors, especially around stocks. So these 4, if one of it falls flat on its face, especially currency risk and credit risk, then everything that you have been building up falls flat on its face. Now, the reason to use to take decisions that at the end of the day would impact on our budget, first and foremost, in this geography, Nigeria as it's where do I want to play? Do I want to play only in the southwest, or do I want to go from southwest up north? Where do I really have the strength to play? That is the first question. Then the second question is, how many good people can I get in the southwest that at the end of the day will be able to help me with my target numbers? If I'm not able to get enough people, then it means I need to move to other geographies and look for good people that can help me meet up with those numbers. Third, what is the capacity of these people that would also help me to achieve the numbers? What they always say, Pareto principle, 80% of your efforts or 20% of your efforts will give you 80% of the results. Same thing, your customers, 20% of your customers will give you 80% of the value. The remaining 80% are a waste of your time. Now, you still need them for the spread in the market, for the visibility. But the 20% is what you should concentrate on, because that is where you get the most value. So all of those things, I would have to look at it. And then as a team, I would have to decide who is to do what. Even though we are all salespeople, as the head, I'm also a salesperson. Up to the country head, up to Sonny Verghese himself, he sees himself as a salesperson. We are all selling Ola, regardless of your role, regardless of whatever it is that you are doing in the company. What that means is, I'm not scared to go to the market. I have to be in the market on a daily basis. With my top 20 customers in a week, I will spend the most time with them. I will travel the length and breadth of Ghana, let's say 20, let me not exaggerate, at least minimum 15 days out of the month, I'm out of my house sleeping in hotels. And the reason is this: if I'm moving from the south to the north of Ghana, I will not fly. I would go by road. And I will go by road because I need to assess at every stop point, am I seeing my product? Why is my product not here? Why is it the competitor's product that is on this shelf? And I have to get down and ask the woman, why is my brand not selling? And if she tells me the reason is because your brand, maybe the long grain is broken, the aroma is not there, the price is too much, I need to take notes and I need to send those details back to the head office that something needs to be done to rejig what we have done. And you cannot use a one-size-fits-all approach for the entire country. If I have to capture sales in this market, then I need to do something differently. And then, from that point, moving from north to south, like I said, I'll check where I'm not visible. I'll check maybe another location where I'm doing very well and what can I do to beat competition further and what have you. So for me, I have to look at my primary sales on a daily basis. I have set the target for my team for the year. I have set the target per month, and per month doesn't mean just dividing by 12. I have to look at it from the perspective of when is our peak season. When do people buy the most? When are schools going on vacation? Because when schools go on vacation, sales drops. When is a major festival coming up that I will need to also boost sales? And so many other factors. Then what is critical for Ghana also? Cocoa is the main commodity in Ghana. And there's a time when the government of Ghana would fund the cocoa sector. Once cocoa money comes into the economy, then people start to spend, and that usually happens in September. So I know that I'm going to have a bumper sales for the month of September, October into December. So I need to plan around all of these things to ensure that I do not lose out at all. So for my primary sales, I look at my top customers. I take their sales, that's what they have procured from me, and I put those numbers together. From there, I have to look at if I have sold out to them. Then I also need to understand what have they sold out from their stores. If I have sold, let's say, 100 bags to you for this today, at least I'm expecting that maybe the 100 bags you should have sold it out within 2 or 3 days. If I come to you at the end of the 3rd day and I ask you how many bags do you have left, and you tell me you still have 60 bags, then I know that there's a blockage somewhere. Either my pricing is too high, or either competition has come in with something cheaper, better quality, whatever it is, marketing, or they have given you an incentive that is not allowing you to sell my items. So all of these details I must know within a space of 2 days maximum for me to be able to change the narrative. That's looking at the secondary skills. Then I now have to do a party-wise analysis. So if you are all my customers here, obviously I know the top 20 will give me the best value. So personally for me, I'll focus on the top 20. But you buy different items from different competitors. So for rice, for instance, you have different stock keeping units from 1 kilo to 5 kilo to 10 kilo, 25, 50. And then we have different brands. For all of these brands, for all of these stock keeping units, for the different grades of rice, I need to know the price per bag. So if you ask me off cuff, what is the price of Aroma 50 kilo? I can tell you. What is the price of Cindy 25 kilo? I should be able to tell you. What is the price of Lake Rice 1 kilo? I should be able to tell you. As the head of your business, there is no competitor price as long as it is in your sector that you shouldn't be able to say. So if I should ask you right now, you don't know it, then there's something wrong somewhere. Because I'm depending on you to come back to me with information to say, my competitor is offering it at a cheaper price, I'm doing this and doing that, and we need to either change something or we just need to sit and wait to see where they are really going. So price is critical. You cannot afford to sit in the office. You should be in the market, checking with your customers, knowing how much they are buying at from your competitors compared to yours. Every size. So your laptop, for instance, you have different grades, you have different brands, you have different sizes. If I were to be in that sector, I should know the price of every single unit out there. And I should be able to take an informed decision to say, I will need to re-strategize for me to be able to do these numbers. And then I look at my weekly market construct. So at the end of the week, I should be able to aggregate and say, this is the average for the pricing for all the competitors in the market. That way, it helps me to see whether I've gone off cuff and I need to do something, or my price is too low, which is why maybe I'm selling too fast. You also need to find a balance. There's a time when you sell so fast and you think that, oh, the world loves you, but rather the world has taken you for a ride. Either your competitors are selling at a price that is actually what the market is going to pay for because maybe exchange rate and what have you. But because you did not get the information back on time to the company to say, we need to take up prices. And that's the thing that is very wrong with salespeople. They will never come back to tell you, take the price up. We will always say, take the price down. But when the price needs to go up, you need to do the company that favor by saying, we need to jack up prices. So you have to be very careful. You have a product, you have a particular SKU. If it is moving too fast, more than what is normal, then you should understand that the market is taking you for a ride. So your pricing, you must always know, else they're taking you for a free ride. You sell all your stock, your competitors still have stock, they're selling at normal prices, you've run out. Before you import a new set, it's going to take time. They will take their time to sell off, but they've made the margins. You have ended up making very minute margins for your company. In fact, you ended up making losses because by the time you use that money, convert it to USD to buy again, the USD has gone up. So you need to be very careful and you need to be wary. Then you need to look out for new products, new brands in the market. At every point in time, my job was this. I must identify if I see anything out of the ordinary in the market. I must capture it and understand what competition is trying to do. Are they trying to just create other watery brands to water down my brand? At the end of the day, they want to capture more share of the market at my expense. I should be able to handle that, and I should be able to know what they're doing. Then, as a credit business, I look at my aging on a daily basis. So I don't know, maybe what you do is mostly credit or a mix of credit and cash. Is it credit or credit and cash? A mix of both. So we have what we call the aging analysis. The aging analysis is like your Bible. So as a manager, I should be able to call you and ask you, how much is Bolaji owing in 30 days? So you have 0 to 15 days, you have 16 to 30 days, you have 31 to 45 days, 45 to 60 days, 60 to 90 days and above. I should be able to ask, how much is Bolaji owing me in 60 to 90 days? If you cannot answer, you don't deserve to be a manager. And I'm not saying how much does Bolaji owe across board. I'm just saying in the aging, what does she owe me in 60 to 90? So there's a cut-off time period. If you are owing me more than 30 days, then there is an issue. So if she's owing me more than what I think is out of the ordinary, then a red flag needs to be raised. Then I also need to see that if she's not able to pay me back, it's going to impact on my sales. So my job also is to ensure that collection is done fast and fast enough. If she doesn't pay me on time, you might look at it and say, but she's owing me 100,000 or 100 million naira. But don't forget that for every day that counts, the exchange rate is also changing. If I'm going to import, if that money doesn't come back to me on time, that money has actually depreciated. And it's likely that Bolaji has also taken my money to import something at my expense, and she's refusing to pay me, so she's using my money to trade. So essentially, I've become her bank, and she's taking me for a ride. Yet, I have borrowed money from the bank, and I'm still going to pay that interest. So I need to look at my aging critically. Then, the last one, which is where the mother of all reports for us was or is what we call the balance sheet. So I'll write it up. So the balance sheet is not necessarily balance sheet like you're doing liabilities and assets. So this is even showing 2018. So the way I start with this data is I'm importing rice. So we have desks in Thailand, in Vietnam, India, US, Pakistan, a lot of countries. We have the reports because we have desks there also where they buy rice for others in the world. So I call the office in Singapore or in Vietnam and say, okay guys, since you are seated over there, give me the export data from your end. Show us what is coming into Ghana in this month of, let's say, December. So they will go to their ports, they already have their links. They can tell me that, okay, sorry, your name is George Limited is importing 100,000 cartons of this laptop. So let's say we are even talking about laptops now. And they're not just saying this, they will give me the specific laptop. So if he's importing 10 different types of laptops, 10 different sizes, they should be able to tell me how many of those he's importing from Vietnam. Same with Thailand, same with US, same with whatever. Now, they've sent me those details from that end. I now have to go to my local customs here in Nigeria, or let me use the word, I'll rather use Ghana. I'll go to the customs there. I also have people working there who would give me the information to say this is what has arrived. That way I can corroborate whether what those have sent me from Vietnam with what has landed here, if it is at par. So from there, I have my expected arrivals. So it's very possible that maybe I may not have the arrivals till the next 3 months, but I already have to impute it here, and I'm expecting it that at the end of 3 months, it would come. Now, for the actual arrivals themselves, what has arrived in this month? For every company, for the segment, for the origin, for the quantity, for the SKU, I need to know it and I need to impute it here. So this actually helps me overall to understand the size of the Ghana market for rice, or for, let's say, computers. The reason is this: if I don't know the size of my industry, and I cannot say that this was the size of the industry in 2015, 2016, 2017, 18 to 20, and I cannot project the growth or the degrowth, then I have no basis to say this is how much I have grown by. So you can sit here and be very happy to say, last year I did 100,000 metric tons of this. This year I have done 200,000 metric tons, and you clap for yourself and you say you did 100% growth. But your industry could have grown by 1,000%, and yet you have only grown by 100%, thinking you have done well. You haven't done well. Your industry grew faster than you, so it means somebody else took the market share, and yet you thought you were doing a good job. So if you do not know how much your industry is growing by, and you are just thinking that you are growing, you are actually not doing the work. You must know what your industry is growing by. That is the basis on which you can say you have grown or not grown. And that is the basis on which you must set your target or your budget. Your industry cannot grow by 1,000% and you are happy with growing by 100%. Somebody else has taken your market share. So that is actually very important. So you must know all of these numbers, the quantities and what have you, to say this is the size of your market, this is the size of the industry. Obviously, some things might also be coming in the way of small good items. You must still be able to capture it, because at the end of the day, it is hitting your market. So by the time I do these computations, put in all this data, then by segments, because rice, for instance, it comes in different categories. I should also be able to say, overall, everything that has come for the, let's say, the long grain segment, which we would call the high segment, this is, or the premium segment. The premium segment is actually this size. So overall, I have a pie of 100%. Rice market is 100% overall. But I need to be able to say, for the 100%, what chunk actually is premium segment. So for your computers, I don't know what the best computer is in the world. Okay, so you have Apple, you have HP, you have all of these things. It comprises of 100%. But I should be able to say at the end of the day, Apple commands 50% of the market, HP controls 20% of the market, or what have you. Now, even if Apple controls 50% of the market, I should be able to tell what specific Apple product comprises of that 50% and what have you. Then, by the time I'm able to do my segment analysis, I need to understand the stock in the country, not my stock, the entire market. I need to be able to tell what the stock is in the country at that time. I need to be able to tell what quantity is also coming in within the next 3 months. The stock available in the country would help me determine where I can peg my price. If internationally, I have also looked at reports stating that maybe there's going to be a typhoon in China, in Vietnam or India. If there's going to be a typhoon, it's going to affect harvest for rice. And if there's going to be something affecting it, it means we won't get imports. So it may not be the time for me to reduce prices, it may be the time for me to jack up prices. So knowing what my stock is on ground and knowing what my final balance is till we receive new imports is actually very critical. Then by the time I now go to my full report to say, this is what the market is looking like. For each competitor, I should be able to tell you what the opening stock is. Meaning at the beginning of the year, what did Olam have? Olam had 61,579 metric tons. Our biggest competitor had 29,972. It puts us at an advantage, especially if, let's say, the CD is stable or the CD is depreciating. It helps us because they are just going to import and then they will have issues here and there. So by the time you look at these numbers, it puts me in a position to understand what my market share is going to be like. Then it also puts me in a position to extrapolate to say, going forward, this is what I would like to achieve in each of the quarters for the year and what have you. I should also be able to tell what my closing stock would be. And for my closing stock, I should be able to extrapolate to say, if this is my closing stock, basis what is available in the country, I should be able to project what my market share should be for maybe the first quarter of the year and going forward. Then I should now be able to go back to the previous year to compare how did the market fare for me and for each and every single one of my competitors. If my competitors have done better than me, which would obviously translate to the entire industry doing better than me, then something has gone wrong somewhere. That is where I now need to go back to each of my customers, go back to my geography to see whether I did not touch a particular area, and maybe this is the area where the competitor has come in to have a better edge ahead of me. And then at the end of the day, I should be able to give a market summary. What's the size last year, segment-wise? What is it year till date? Contribution, market growth, and you should be able to do the trend analysis. I should be able to do what the stock will be like for the next couple of months, which will help me again with my pricing, and then I should be able to take an informed decision to say this is what my budget is going to be like for the year. So all of these details, we do it before we sit down to hash out the final budget.
Every month.
Every month. We do a business, and this must go without fail. And we're just a team of every month the balance sheet must go out, meaning you need to get your data. So this can take me about 3 weeks to put together. So as I'm finishing the balance sheet for the year, for the month ahead, I'm already starting on the next one. You need to do it, because if you don't have the data, you cannot make an informed. So that's why I said, when you are selling fast, when you are selling fast, you need to understand why people are buying your products fast. It may not be because they love you, it may be because your price is lower, whereas competitor has kept. So you need to know what your market stock is like. So a lot of these things, I actually have more reports that I would have shown. So this is just the balance sheet, and a lot of things feed this balance sheet. So at the end of the day, when we now want to procure, because procurement is the bedrock again of your financials. If, let's say, you are projecting you want to make 100,000 naira on this laptop, you can have the best sales team in the world. You can do the best marketing in the world. But if you got it at the wrong price, it is already going to affect a lot of things. Because what it now means is you now need to go the extra mile to be able to get a 100,000 naira margin. But if you got it at the right price from the onset, you have made your job 50% easier. So everything we do, all of these numbers, it boils down back to getting the input at the right price from the very beginning. Then 50% of your job solved. So for me, this was my main bread and butter in Olam. And without this, there is no Olam. What this also means is that for me to get all of this information, if I don't have the best customer service orientation to make my customer the king, I don't have this information. So at the end of the day, treating your customer as king is the bedrock. Now, what do I mean by saying treating your customer as a king? It's not about going to your customer's office to just say, I want a sale. And I was telling the chairman, the #1 customer we have in the entire Ghana for all the competitors, I made him. Till date, we still chat on the phone. We call. I call him Uncle Eford. And also, it's a family of brothers and what have you. But when I took over that account, they became the biggest. Until date, they are still the biggest. And how did I do it? Because the way they've structured their business, it's such that Ghana is a very friendly place anyway. So I go to the house. The customer is there, the wife is there, you have the bankers, you have the salespeople. Up to each salesperson, and they are small boys, I don't call them by name. I never call anybody that is a customer of mine. Even if you are not the direct customer, you're a worker, I will never call you by name. I call everybody brother or auntie. That is #1. #2, all my key customers, I know all their children by name. Yes, you have to. Till date, when I'm chatting with Uncle Hayford, I don't say, how are you and your family? How are you? How is Auntie Vic? How is Nane Ekria? How is Kwame? How is Kelvin? I mention each of their kids by name. I know each of my customers, the top customers, I know their birthdays. And I must make sure I get them the best birthday gift. Yes, I have pictures on my phone when my customer was carrying the cake I took to his house on his head and his wife was laughing. So you must know their kids by name, you must know their wives or their husbands by name, you must know their birthdays. No, it's very important. And a lot of times you don't strike the best deals in the office. You strike the best deals when you go to meet them in their place of comfort. For the customer, because I was always moving. So for my top customers, because during the day, if you go to the office, they are swamped either by bankers, they are swamped by competitors or people who want them to try new products. If I go to the office, it's just to say hi and make everybody laugh. I'm going to the house and I'm waiting for them. And I can be at my customer's place till 11, 12 midnight. And I am calling my line manager, Pancard, sir. So that's the best time to strike deals, trust me. And it is in an atmosphere where I know that if the husband is not listening to me, I push the wife. Auntie Vic, are you sure you don't want me to take you to Singapore for holiday? Tell Uncle Hayford, he must buy this, he must buy that. Immediately, Uncle Hayford, Bisola is saying she's taking us to Singapore. Biko, do this for her, and he'll do it. Even though it was a credit market in Ghana, I knew how to get my money. And the customer interface got so good that I would enter into my customer's shop or go to my customer's house. Because I was so free with them and I had gotten under their skin, I would open the drawers of my customers, bring out their checkbooks and write my checks. Others might be there for hours begging for check to go and deposit in the bank. I write my check and I tell them, append your signature. And people think that maybe I've used juju. But it is not. No, see, trust me, you see, when you say not in Nigeria, that is a mistake. I am Nigerian. I don't speak and I'm not from Ghana. And I'm not talking about just Ghanaians alone. I was dealing with Lebanese and Indians as well. And even for the Lebanese, it was worse. Because it was like, what jazz is this girl using? Because you have other Indians and Lebanese waiting to collect their money. And I'm entering into someone's shop and saying, Raid, how far? I bring out the drawer, UBA check, I write my checks, Raid, sign. At some point, my team under me, they would always wait for me. As soon as they're in trouble and they're not getting what they want, they call me and I have to be there. I have to be there because it's not a function of it's your responsibility. It's my responsibility at the end of the day if you are not getting that money. If you don't get that money, it means our budget is not going to happen. So which is why I keep saying it, your customer at the end of the day is your budget. If you don't take care of your customer, if you don't know your customer to the nitty-gritty, up to the schools that your customers' children are going to, you should be able to know some of them. For my top customer, his first kid was going to a school near my house in Kumasi. I ended up being the one. I would carry food items from Takrady where he was living and be taken into the school. Not because I was daft or I didn't have anything to do, but because I knew that these are things that no other competitor in my market would do for that customer. I would go there, go and drop money for Kelvin. If Kelvin wants to come home, sometimes if I'm going to Takrady, I'll pick him and take him to his parents. And I'm a member of that family till today. Nobody can take my place. The salespeople handling that customer till today, they call me to ask for certain things around how they can meet the customer halfway such that they get what they want. So at the end of the day, not to bore you, like I said, all of this, which is to help you make an informed decision at the end of the day towards getting your budget. If you do not know your customer, and know your customer is not just, I know your name, you know my name. You must know the customer to the detail of who is a pastor, who is a Christian, who is a Muslim, what is the spiritual life like. You need to know. I'm very serious about it. You need to know what makes someone tick, and you must be able to connect to the person at that level. Even Paul said it in the Bible. You must meet people where they are. If someone is high, meet him at a high level. If this person is low, meet him at a low level. But know what makes a person tick and meet that person at that level. So, like I mentioned, this family, brothers, one of them is a Pastor Chris Oyakilome fan. He's crazy about Pastor Chris. As soon as I get there, we talk only Pastor Chris. Another one, he gyms a lot. Uncle George. He's always gymming, his wife, his kids, I look at all of them and I'm like, Charlie, so you talk exercise. You speak their language. And that way, you get under their skin. And don't make it superficial. When it is superficial, people know that you are just taking them for a ride. You really need to get interested in their lives. And trust me, your numbers will happen. So,
you don't really stay in the office?
No.
We have no question this question. Are we done?
So, yes, I'm done. So, there's a time to stay in the office. So I don't know if people have questions. So Bolaji was asking, so you don't stay in the office. So the thing is, in Olam, you have to know when your customers are at their peak. You need to know when your customers are at their peak. You need to know, you see, you must have a motive. If I want to go to the market, I know the best time to get prices from customers. In the morning, the market is not full, so the customers are level-headed. I rush to the market, quickly get my pricing, and I get out. If I know I'm going for checks, I know the time to hit the market. When I know sales is booming, and they cannot say that people are not buying. So immediately I'm breaking out my checkbooks and I'm writing my checks and I'm saying, hey, sign. If it is for any other thing around, maybe just wanting to see visibility in the market, I go also at the peak period when people have displayed properly. So by and large in Olam, you don't sit in the office. If you are going to sit in the office, you can come to the office maybe 7, 7:30, 8, but by 9, 10, you must be out of the office and you shouldn't come back to the office till 5, 6 when the market is winding down. You must be in the market. See, the thing is this, if you lose information by just 5 minutes, it can distort your entire budget. So you cannot afford to be out of the market.